Hello, hello, hello. This is Sena, your resident DIYer, and today we got a special one. Let me move myself so you can read. Hi, I'm in the middle of the screen now. Hello. Hello. So I'm gonna preface today. I have never, nor will I ever want to do anything horrible to myself. I have decent mental health for a VTuber. I will never want to hurt myself. And this is all exposed things. I am covering things that are already out there. So, you know, don't make me end my life through the back of my own head. Yeah. Thanks, handler. Choo! That's just for my handler. Decent lamau. Hi. Hello, federal agents. This is all a joke and we all love y'all. Yeah, totally. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Oh, wow. That was a little too close. Alright. So as you know, we're going to be doing quite a bit of bulk of research related stuff. So, you know, I'm going to be reading a lot. I'm going to try my best to keep up with chat. If things get awkwardly quiet at some point, just know. Yeah. Anyway. Just like make it as spooky as possible. Okay. Okay. Please try not to take it too seriously. A lot of this is just me joking. Okay. I am not sewer slidle. Okay. Howdy. Howdy. Hello, it's Dr. FBI from the NSA. Bobbius Smithius Maximus. That's a name. Have you ever chatted before? That is a name. That's a real that's a name. Yep. Rick. Hi. We know. At least I hope everyone here knows. Cinnabonbon, isn't it cool to accumulate firearms, tobacco, and alcohol in your bunkers? Let's share locations. Wouldn't you like to know, Fed boy? Okay. Hello, illegal firearm havers. Anyone know where to get one? Ah, they're among us. They're among us. They're among us. They're among us. Okay. Did someone say free trip to Guantanamo Bay? I hear it's beautiful this time of year. Oh, if you hear birds tweeting in the background, because I'm in the woods. That's because my window's open. You know, so I can snipe me easier. You know, I just don't want anyone to have to clean up dead, you know, broken glass and my dead body. I'm considerate. Yeah. Yeah. What is a zooming noise? Are the feds recording you? Who knows? Maybe. Does a bear stream in the woods? Does a bear shit in the woods? Pixie Mesa, thanks for the $10. Hi, Sena, it's Bob from the NSA. Just checking that you're not planning to talk about you know what. We have your GPS coordinates. Thanks. Can you tell me my GPS coordinates? I'm kind of lost. We need an FBI VTuber. Yeah, that would be quite the psyop, huh? Kind of like that military girl on TikTok. Yeah, that's a psyop. Okay, let's just get into it. Hey y'all, Spino here. Alright, so it begins. The CIA wouldn't do it again. Presented by Cinnabonbon. Bonbon Incorporated, 2024. Yeah. This is all a joke. Please leave me alone. My government handler had no part in this. However, if you want to give me money, Mr. FBI man, please donate to my stream elements. Ramau. Grey Yui. Welcome to the Build-A-Bears. Okay. Okay. Do I need to move? No, I don't. Alright, cool. Do you believe? Thank you, Samuel, for the $5. Thank you, the federal insurance that granted a membership to Sena on my person. Oh, there, Goku, 6K, congrats. Really? Oh, wow, thank you. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Welcome, guys. Alright. Do you believe? These are based on leaked or released documents. These are all confirmed to have happened. Would the government do it again? No, right? Right? Yeah, totally. Anyways, we're gonna get right into it. Controlling the Weather, Operation Popeye, 1967 to 1972. X-File theme starts. Operation Sober Popeye was a project-controlled weather Popeye, motor pole, or intermediary compatriot. Those are all the different names. $5, thank you, Hambrabai. Everything should be fine as long as you don't mention that underground data center northeast of, yeah, a state that doesn't even exist. We're doing pretty good. Was a military cloud seeding project carried out by the US Air Force, okay? So during the Vietnam War, the CIA attempted to extend the monsoon season over the Ho Chi Minh Trail in order to disrupt North Vietnamese military logistics by softening road surfaces and causing landslides. This is confirmed. The former US Secretary of Defense Robert S. McNamara was aware that there might be objections raised by the international scientific community, but said in a memo to the president that such objections had not in the past been a basis for prevention of military activities considered to be in the interest of US national security. So, the US, in time of war, had tried to control weather patterns and succeeded. They would only do that in war, though, of course. Of course. You know, in a war they didn't technically win. But, you know, tomato, tomato. A report titled Rainmaking in Sesia. Can't make this shit up. SEA Asia, Southeast Asia, Sesia, outlines use of lead iodide and silver iodide deployed by aircraft in a program that was developed in California at Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, and tested in Okinawa, Guam, the Philippines, Texas, and Florida, in a hurricane study program called Project Storm Fury. Practicing major weather systems on US soil. That's kind of interesting. Operation Popeye's goal was to increase rainfall in carefully selected areas to deny the Vietnamese enemy, namely military supply trucks, the use of roads by softening the surfaces of the roads, causing landslides, washing out river crossings, and maintaining saturated soil conditions beyond the normal time span. Totally nothing to see here. Yup, totally nothing. Yeah, guys, it's just cloud seeding. They definitely don't use HARP or other stuff. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This isn't the Hunger Games. They can't just put us in a cage and control everything. People don't write literature and release literature for people to slowly get accustomed to being literally fucked in the ass. No, of course not. They're not desensitizing us at all. Anyway, mind control. Everybody likes a little mind control. Pretty neat. Glad they would only use that on our enemies. Of course. Of course, only our enemies. Alright. Experiments. Of course we're going to be talking about MK Ultra. Pachi, 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 pachi. Alright, experiments. So they have been confirmed. This is already released, as we all know, to use MK Ultra. This is the name of it, right? research into quote-unquote truth serums and ways to force people to confess. This involved forcing people to take drugs like LSD, allegedly also attempted to control people and make assassins out of them. You know, like the kill calls and like, you know, those funny little like spy movies, or like, the activating thing, this is your kill call. And, you know, they'd be like, ham sandwich, and next thing you know, you massacred everybody. But that's alleged. That part's alleged. This is alleged. Yeah. The CIA has data centers at every Amazon facility and university in America. I know, I helped wire them. Thanks for the $10. She's talking about my sister feds. Yeah. You're the worser of the feds, though. Y'all are a little... I'm doing the wrist flap with my hand, by the way. You can't see it. This model. One day I'm gonna have 3D tracking on a 2D model. I'm gonna make it happen. Famous supposed victims of MK Ultra include Ted Kaczynski, Uncle Ted, the Unabomber, Sirhan, which is the assassin for Robert Kennedy, Charles Manson, you know, the crazy guy with the swastika between his eyebrows, the guy who somehow allegedly was able to manipulate people to kill multiple people when he did not do anything. And then James Bulger, a famous mobster. You know, like the Joker. So, Project MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, intended to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken people and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. It began in 1953 and was halted in 1973. MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as the covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs and other chemicals without the subject's consent, electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and other forms of torture. MK Ultra was preceded by two drug-related experiments, Project Bluebird and Project Artichoke. It was organized through the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence and coordinated with the United States Army Biological Warfare Logistics and Laboratories. Halted, right. Well, I mean, as you can see, the two names before it, preceding it, were just two different names. So, yeah. Although I will say usually psychoactive drugs like LSD are not technically addictive, but they can lead to full-blown psychosis, which then can lead to suicide, which is why it's considered a dangerous drug. Anything that can alter your perception is pretty dangerous, actually. I mean, alcohol can do it. Shoot, even cigarettes can sometimes do it, depending on how, you know, sensitive you are to nicotine. So, but that's a cope. They were pumping people full of drugs without their consent, under the guise of, you know, truth. Although I will say, you get someone into a high enough state, you can usually also make them do what you want to do. I mean, roofies, hello. So, yeah. Now, of course, there is the famous series Stranger Things that explores an MK Ultra theme of it, you know, providing superpowers to people. And I imagine that when you're high on LSD, you probably do feel like you have superpowers, but I feel like your senses are heightened. And from the sounds of things, the torture then performed on these individuals helped to force them to be more submissive. But you know, it's been halted. They wouldn't do that anymore. They're decent people down at the government, of course. Of course. Very, very decent people. Sena about to ask, have you ever tried DMT? Nope. Nope. I know a couple of people who've tried psychedelics, but I have bad anxiety. Yeah, I think that would be worse for me. Wouldn't mind having LSD superpowers, to be honest, right? This is why cocaine is the only reasonable drug. Cocaine, you can also overdose on it and have full-blown psychosis and kill yourself. It's also technically non-addictive. A lot of drugs are technically non-addictive. What people don't realize, or at least fail to realize, is that with most drugs, you're chasing a feeling. So while your brain is not chemically attached to it, you are emotionally attached to that feeling. And so in that way, you still are addicted. It's a hard thing to admit, but I mean, if you like the way you do it and you can't function without it, that's an addiction, baby girl. I don't know what to tell you. Caffeine's my preferred drug. It is a drug. So is sugar. Look it up. The origin of the project was a continuation of the work begun in the World War II era facilities started by the Japanese and Nazi concentration camp on subduing and controlling human minds. Yeah, the US co-opted a lot of that info, and they're totally not using it on anybody, and if they were, it's only gonna be the US enemies, and never citizens. Never citizens. Anyway. Next. Funding. Y'all got bomb fever. Wait, I'm addicted to bonbon. Sin is addictive? I guess. VTubers can be addictive if you're addicted to a feeling. I don't know what I make you feel, but... you don't have to answer that. Okay. Hey, funding. Number 1. 1960s. They funded the Dalai Lama. He was on the CIA payroll for $180K per year for much of the 60s. And he used to fight Chinese communism in Tibet. Now think about that for a second though, because this is a quick sidebar. 180,000 in the 60s. That's quite the salary. That is quite the salary. You make us feel sweet. You make me feel sad. I'm sorry, Turkey. Actually, no, I'm not. So, 180,000 from the US government in the 1960s. I mean, quick maths, I feel like it's the value today, you know, that's far past 6 figures, if not in the high 6 figures now, instead of 180. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and Google it real quick, but yeah. Could you make people addicted to valuable metals or coins like shekels? Like money? You could be addicted to money, or per se, what money brings you. You know? What money provides to you can be addictive. Making money can be addictive, like your job. Yeah. I already know where you guys are taking it with that word. Trying to behave, you know, I'm not trying to get canceled before I've even made it a year into VTubing. Oh, brother. Okay, the 1960s. Funding the Dalai Lama. Let's see, where did I put you, Dalai? Dolly do. You're buried along all the Cuban stuff, come on. Oh, it's fine, it's whatever. There's no way happened. Okay, number 2, 1990s, Los Pepes, a paramilitary group formed against Pablo Escobar, allegedly funded and supported by the CIA and DEA. Allegedly. So, in 1992, when Pablo Escobar escaped from his luxury prison in La Catedral, shortly after the Cali drug cartel, dissidents within the Medellin cartel and the MAS worked together to create a new paramilitary organization known as Perseguidos por Pablo Escobar. People persecuted by Pablo Escobar, Los Pepes, for short. with the purpose of tracking down and killing Pablo Escobar and his associates. The leader of the organization was Fidel Castano. The Cali cartel provided $50 million for weapons, informants, and assassins, within hope of wiping out their primary rivals in the cocaine business. Why would the US want to get involved in cocaine? That's crazy. Both Colombian and US government agencies, including DEA, CIA, and State Department, provided intelligence to Los Pepes. The Institute of Policy Studies in searching for details of connections to the CIA and DEA had to Los Pepes. They have launched a lawsuit under the Freedom of Information Act against the CIA. The suit has resulted in the declassification of thousands of documents from the CIA, as well as other U.S. agencies, including the Department of State, Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and the U.S. Coast Guard. These documents have been made public at the website Pepe's Project. Yeah. Allegedly, it's being thrown around a lot. Yeah, sorry, Jason. I'm not trying to die yet. I'm too young. Yep. Ensure their supply. Did you know we give $23 billion to Israel every year? We give a lot of money to a lot of foreign agencies every year. A lot of foreign agencies. We spend a lot of money on defense spending. Well, we don't pay any troops more. Troops' families have to go on EBT sometimes. Where's it all going? Spend a lot of funding on NASA. I'm not going to space. You're not going to space. Is space even real? Anyway, 1980s Nicaraguan Contras provided support to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua, who used terrorist tactics against the Nicaraguan government. Now, the US has a lot of history with Nicaragua. They have a lot of history with a lot of poorer countries, third world countries, and their wars. We seem to put our hands in a lot of wars. Probably because war means money. Yeah. War means money. Anyway, Nicaraguan Contras. From 1979 to 1990, the United States provided financial, logistical, and military support to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua who used terrorist tactics in their war against the Nicaraguan government and carried out more than 1,300 terrorist attacks. This support persisted despite widespread knowledge of the human rights violations committed by the Contras. In 1979, the Sandinista National Liberation Front, or FSLN, overthrew the dictatorial regime of Anastasio Somoza Deval and established a revolutionary government in Nicaragua. The Somoza dynasty had been receiving military and financial assistance from the United States since 1936. Following their seizure of power, the Sandinistas ruled the country first as part of Junta of National Reconstruction and later as a democratic government following free and fair elections in 1984. Astoria, thanks for the $2. $2.20. An agent is being sent over to stop your lies. Okay. I'm just reading what's available. It's all released. It's all out there. It's out there. The Sandinistas did not attempt to create a communist society or communist economic system. Instead, their policy advocated a social democracy and a mixed economy. The government sought the aid of Western Europe, who were opposed to the U.S. embargo against Nicaragua to escape dependency on the Soviet Union. However, the U.S. administration viewed the leftist Sandinista government as an undemocratic and totalitarian under the ties of Soviet-Cuban model and tried to paint the Contras as freedom fighters. How would they benefit from that? That's weird. Unfair Kiki Camarana was the only DA agent came, ended, and napped by narcos. Thanks for the $5, Marquise Obscurite. Obscurite? How do you pronounce that? Yeah, I don't remember. Election integrity, huh? Yeah, why would they care about that? Why would they care about that? Oh, my neighbors are outside. If you hear a man's voice, it is my neighbor. Please do not freak out. The United States. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's an agent. What if? That'd be kind of silly. I'd be a little silly. I'm just a bear. I'm just a bear. Feds on the stream. Maybe. Who knows? I could snipe through this window. That'd be kind of cool. For me. I mean, not for you guys listening in, but that'd be kind of funny. A little funny. Okay. Because it just seems silly. Alright, the Sandinista government, headed by Daniel Ortega, won decisively in the 1984 Nicaraguan elections. The U.S. government explicitly planned to back the Contras, various rebel groups collectively that were formed in response to the rise of Sandinistas, as a means to damage the Nicaraguan economy and force the Sandinista government to divert its scarce resources toward the army and away from social and economic programs. Why would they want them to divert their money? Why would they want that? There's no way. There's no way. Number 4. In the 1980s, Operation Cyclone. CIA program to arm and finance the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to fight the USSR. Yeah. 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 So, the United States has provided extensive lethal and non-lethal aid to many Syrian militant groups fighting against the Syrian government and ally of Russia during the Syrian civil war. Why would we want to harm Russia? Psst. The Syrian government has directly accused the United States of sponsoring terrorism in Syria. The United States government was also criticized by Iran for its silence following the beheading of a child by the Islamist group Noor al-Din al-Zinki, a group that is a recipient of the U.S. military aid and is accused of many war crimes by Amnesty International. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has also accused the United States of supporting ISIS. Not ISIS, we'd never. In Syria, claiming Turkey has evidence of U.S. support for ISIS through pictures, photos, and videos without further elaborating on said evidence or providing any. You know why they wouldn't provide any. Because there isn't any proof. We'd never do that. We'd never participate in war crimes for the sake of financial benefit, access to land and oil. We'd never do that. We'd never do that. We'd never be boots on the ground in Europe anytime soon. Anyway, an investigation journalist by Phil Sands and Suha Miyi revealed that rebels supplied with the weapons from the Military Operations Command in Amman sold a portion of them to local arms dealers, often to raise cash to pay additional fighters. Some MOC supplied, Military Operation Command, MOC supplied weapons were sold to Bedouin, Amman. Traders referred to locally as the Birds in Lahat, a volcanic plateau northeast of Daraa, Syria. According to rebel forces, the Bedouins would then trade the weapons to ISIL, who would place orders under the encrypted WhatsApp messaging services. Two rebel commanders in the United Kingdom's weapons monitoring organization maintain that MOC-supplied weapons have made their way to ISIL forces. Another study conducted by a private company at the behest of the European Union and Deutsch, I assume German, that's a real Gesellschaft für international Zusammenarbeit, that's a girl, found that external support for anti-Assad Syrian rebels significantly augmented the quantity and quality of weapons available to ISIL forces, including, in the most rapid case version they documented, anti-tank weapons purchased by the United States that ended up in possession, somehow, inexplicably, of the Islamic State within 2 months of leaving the factory. Obviously, they robbed us. Obviously. They came directly to the facility and they robbed us. Obviously. It's fake news. Honestly, it's all fake news. Fake news. Has to be. There's no way. Next meme. Fake vaccine programs. No, don't click out. Don't click out. The U.S. intelligence hunting for Osama bin Laden had honed in on a compound in the town of Abbottabad in eastern Pakistan. But they wanted to make sure it was the right place, so the CIA employed a Pakistani doctor, Shakil Afridi, to organize a Hep B vaccination program. The idea was to vaccinate the children living in the compound, then test their DNA on the used syringes to see if they were related to bin Laden. Shut it down. Yeah. And this is how they found him. And I believe to this day, Shakil is still in prison. A White House official says the CIA will no longer use vaccine programs as cover for spy operations. After this was released, they said they would no longer be using it. So it's done. They'll never use it for that purpose. Ever. The CIA famously used a vaccination program as a ploy to gain information. This information led to the exact house that bin Laden was hiding in, so they could kill him. And they did. CIA Director John Brennan made the decision himself because he took seriously the concerns raised by the public health community. By publicizing this policy, our objective is to dispel one canard that militant groups have used as justification for cowardly attacks against vaccination providers. This was a unique case that required deliberate thought and review on our end before we made such a statement publicly. We had to do it to find him. We would never do it again. Ever, 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 ever. Ever. And we certainly wouldn't do it to our own citizens. Obviously not. We would never, ever, ever collect your DNA. Ever. Duh. Silly. Why would we want to know that kind of information? It wouldn't be helpful or beneficial to us, the US government. Anyway, false flags. Thanks, Rachel. Ever thought about playing Rebel Inc., made by the same ones who made Plague Inc.? Either way, thank you for the wonderful stream in this month. Love ya. Thanks, Rachel. Oh, I've never thought about playing that. What a brilliant strat. Yeah, they pinky promise. Never, ever. We would never, ever. Rest in peace, Sena. Yeah. Shut it down. Yeah. It's been nice knowing you. What? You imagine this stream ends. I just grabbed. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Operation Northwoods, obviously. And Operation Mongoose. Plane attacks. Operation Northwoods contained a proposal to hijack airliners and blame it on Cuba as a way to provoke a war against the new Castro regime. Now, of course, they would never, ever, 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 ever take this idea and apply it to anything else. Ever. Ever. Attacks on military bases. Plan fake attacks on Guantanamo Bay, then use that as an excuse to attack Cuban targets. They would never take that idea and apply it elsewhere. Okay? It was such a bad idea that they didn't do it in the first place. They would never apply it elsewhere. Killing civilians. Plan includes possible assassination of Cuban immigrants and seeking a civilian Cuban boats. They'd never do that. They didn't do it, so clearly they'd never repurpose that idea. Obviously not. Unclassified memorandum for the Secretary of Defense, subject justification for U.S. and Cuba. The Joint Chiefs of Staff have memorandum for the Chief of Operation Response to a request of what office description of pretext which would for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. That's weird. Just one-time thing, never happened again. Of course not. They would never, ever hijack a plane, blame it on someone else to start a war. Ever. Why would you even think that? Chat, you're being too much of a conspiracy theorist. You're being too silly. They'd never do that. What would be the point? They would never just want to line their pockets. Never. And use civilians as cannon fodder? No, I don't think so. You're bugging. You're bugging. Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against the United States American citizens that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense of the United States government in 1962. You really are Pippa's child. / frowny face. Why is that a / frowny face? So rude. But thank you for the $2. Sabotaging space program. Operation Dirty Trick. Another false flag plot to blame Castro of the 1962 Mercury crew space flying carrying John Glenn crash, saying the objective is to provide irrevocable proof that should the Mercury manned orbit flight fail, the fault lies with the communists in Cuba, and contained evidence that will prove Cuban sabotage. Sabotaging their own space program? But they spend so much money on it. They would never do that. They would never just waste American dollars. Psst, come on, guys. Come on. Operation Northwoods. Fidel Castro has taken power in Cuba in 1959 and began allowing communists into the new Cuban government, nationalizing U.S. businesses and improving relationships with the Soviet Union, arousing the concern of the U.S. military due to the Cold War. The operation proposed created public support for a war against Cuba by blaming it for terrorist acts that would actually be perpetrated by the U.S. government. To this end, Operation Northwoods proposals recommended hijackings and bombings, followed by the introduction of phony evidence that would implicate the Cuban government. It stated, the desired result from the execution of this plan would to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances from a rash and irresponsible government of Cuba, and to develop an international image of a Cuban threat to the peace in the Western Hemisphere. Interesting. And before Clinton. You and Pippa should do a 100 do a conspiracy theory stream together. Oh, I mean, that could be cool, but I wouldn't want to bug her. $10, thank you. You Fisher89. I love all the CIA plots to kill Fidel Castro, while some, like hiding plastic explosive in his cigar, are somewhat rational. Others are right out of a James Bond movie. Wow. You know, a bunch of old men in Washington coming up with ideas that seem irrational. Weird. Oop, give me a minute. Hello. Well, that was scary. There was knocking on my door. And it was Amazon with my mother's stuff that she wanted here for a trip while she's here. Except he wanted it to talk a while. Anyway, that was really spooky. But that's pretty much all I have for today. So I guess we can wrap up. Sorry to wrap up after something that long of a break. But conclusion, it never happened again. Right? That completely derailed it. Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, I don't know about that. I am not gonna sleep well tonight. Okay. Jeff Bezos is mad. I called it. You know, I like to think that maybe it really just was Amazon. Literally an agent. So soft, right? I've never had Amazon deliver this late. They're supposed to deliver by 8 o'clock. It's almost 9. X to doubt. Lock and load. Literally lock and load, though. I don't think I'll sleep tonight at all. So if you're watching, you're not gonna get me, stinky. Eastern time zone gang, yeah. East Coast, West Coast. But anyways, for anyone who has any questions, no you don't. No you don't. Anyway, the CIA, guys. Give it up for the CIA. Pachi, pachi, pachi. They're totally here for us. They totally love us. We're all good US citizens. Although some of you are EU. Sorry. Some of you are Canadian too. Anyway, we're all good people. Totally. Totally. Yeah, here for us. They care for us. They take care of us. They put the friendly in friendly fire. They sure do. Canadian. Oof. So true. So true, bestie. Anyway, that is all I have for the stream tonight. Stay tuned for the raid. You'll be being raided into Woozy Baboozy. Alright, thank you for coming, y'all. Good night to all of you. I apologize for being Canadian. Yeah, that's a very Canadian response. Your government loves you. It's your only hope. Trust them. Does it? Fake Sena. They're on to me. Alright, thank you for the presentation. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you guys came by. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I'm cutting it right after a break, but I was gonna cut it, and then there was that knock. He knocked real loud. Sus. I'm always gonna be suspicious of any man showing up at my door and the lights are out. You know, there's no sun, the street lights are out. Why are you here? I don't know you. Anyway, that was cool. Good night, sus as frig. Yeah, cause you know, my anxiety needed that. Anywho, I wasn't even discussing anything, you know, too bad. It's all declassified in my own theories. What does that matter? I'm just a VTuber. Alright. Good night. Blink 3 times if you need help. I don't know how many to hold. There. Stay strapped. Yeah, you know I have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to open up the safe. Alright. Good night. God bless. See y'all. Bye, 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 bye. Bye. Bye.
I'm sorry for everything that you've been through, but know that I felt I did what I had to do. You don't trust the government, and that is fine, but please don't leave this Chloe that's yours far behind. I can't change the past or what I've done to you. I won't make this harder than I have to. I thought that there was nothing else that I could lose till you found me and healed all my scars from abuse. I know that what happened was my big mistake. I broke the promise we all have to make. poison, I know you deserve